Hi, I'm Sarah Brzezinski, the Outreach Coordinator at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory. Thank you for joining us for one of our Young Alumni interviews. Today I'll be speaking with Cara Simpson, and we'll be learning about her experiences at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory and how her career has developed since her graduation. Cara, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for asking. I'm so excited to at least be tapping back into CBL after so long.
It's going to be great to catch up. I'm really looking forward to it. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I ended up at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory after I went to college in St. Mary's County at St. Mary's College of Maryland. They have a research component of senior year. So I was doing a research project and I really wanted to get involved with marine science. And of course, I knew that just over the bridge, there was the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory. So I sent a couple emails and asked if anybody was willing to work with me, and I was introduced just by chance to Mike Wilberg, and he responded and agreed to be an unofficial mentor to me during my senior year. He did everything he could to get me involved. He invited me to the lab meetings. He let me tour the campus. I was introduced to other faculty members and other students, and I think kind of got me on the hook to bring me in as a student, even though I maybe didn't know it yet.
So, Cara, once you decided to come to the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory, how did your thesis research develop? What did you end up working on?
Well, I was lucky enough to be offered a position that was already funded. So I didn't have a whole lot of control in what the project was going to be about. It was Mike Wilberg and Hong Sheng Bi. They had funding to work on a ichthyoplankton survey where they were collecting information on Atlantic menhaden for I think over 50 years. And so they really just needed more people to put all hands on deck and dig into these numbers and see what they could find about spawning behavior and general abundance of the species.
Atlantic menhaden is a pretty important species in the Chesapeake Bay and beyond. What sort of impacts could your research have had? Were there any reasons that non-scientists would be interested in it?
Absolutely. I think I used to say back at CBL, I used to say that Atlantic menhaden are one of the most important fish that most people haven't heard of. Working with Atlantic menhaden, it gave me the opportunity to see fishery science from a much larger lens than just the fish and the water and the biological components. I got to work with the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission, and I got to be involved in some of the management meetings and management decisions that were going on around the species at the time. So I know that parts of my research actually were used in these management meetings, and they were included in the discussion of how we can continue to protect these species, which are not only ecologically important, but economically important as well.
That's great. It must have been nice to see your thesis research have that real management application and connection to the stakeholders.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it might be a little bit at fault to why I'm maybe not still in pure academic research today, that it started to grow what I saw as, the huge world of fisheries, and I'm still exploring those questions that were presented at the time.
So let's dive into that. You mentioned that your career trajectory has shifted. After you graduated, you went into the Peace Corps, right?
Correct. Yes. So when I was going through the final stages of my master's degree, I saw that there was a Peace Corps posting that aligned perfectly with the area of expertise that I'd gained as a student at CBL. It was a coastal resource management position. And the whole goal of the position was to interact with stakeholders in the Philippines, with local fisher folk, which is not just the fishermen, but the fish sellers and everybody involved in the industry.
So while you were in the Philippines, how was that experience? What sort of things did you do on a day-to-day basis?
So my time in the Philippines was absolutely unforgettable. I was there for 2.5 years, which is crazy to think back on. But I lived in an area where I was the only American in my entire town, the town of about 25,000 people. Every day was just a whole world of new experiences. So I worked at the municipal agriculture office, and my supervisor was the mayor. And a typical day, I would wake up in my apartment surrounded by palm trees and the noises of roosters, and I would walk about a mile to where I worked, and I got the pleasure of working with two incredible individuals in the fisheries department. They were my mentors and my counterparts during this project, and we worked to implement both educational and livelihood development activities with fisher folk in the municipality.
Wow. That sounds fascinating. So, Cara, do you think any particular experiences from the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory helped you in your position there?
Absolutely, yeah. There, I think being involved with Atlantic menhaden in particular was really interesting because it's a species where there's some controversy. There are people that want to fish more, and there are factories, and there's all of these things, and there's also environmental groups and conservation. And so I got to be on that intersection of utilization and conservation, which was such a theme of my time at Chesapeake Biological Laboratory. But then I got to get, my boots on the ground, so to speak, and see that in action and see the very real concerns on both sides of the argument. I cannot discount the incredible opportunities that were provided to me as a student at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory. And one of them, of course, came from working with you, Sarah, and that was through that project where you made us do these painful video interviews. And mine was so bad on the first cut that you made me do it again. And it gave me the experience to not just learn how to be a scientist, but learn how to communicate the impact of my work and try to find a greater audience for it. And it wasn't just that, it was the brown bag lunches that we did. We were given so many development opportunities that go beyond science and still serve me today.
Well, Cara, your communication skills are excellent, and it's a pleasure to get to interview you today. So moving on from your experience in the Peace Corps, what did you do after you came back home?
Well, I didn't make up my mind right away because when I went into the Peace Corps, I was really expecting that afterwards I would apply for PhD programs and I would stay on the route to become a marine biologist, which was I think a goal from an early age. And when I was finishing up my Peace Corps service, I started to think about different options. And I saw a really great opportunity at William and Mary to pursue a master's of business administration, which is something I hadn't previously considered. But given the questions that I had found in my Peace Corps experience, especially around how to help fisher folk, how to have an impact in these coastal areas, I realized the skills that I was missing was in the more technical business, leadership, finance, marketing field. So I decided to, why not go back to school?
So, Cara, while you're pursuing your MBA, what sort of things are you working on?
Actually, I'm doing probably more than I should. When I came to my MBA program, I was really excited about the potential for connections with the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. And so I was working a little bit over there when I got started, but I found an amazing organization called Net Impact, which is all about trying to take the business world and make a positive impact. And it was through working with that club and my co-president in the MBA program that when COVID started in March, we recognized an opportunity for us as club leaders to offer assistance to small business in the areas, whether that's relating to responding to COVID in a crisis, but also getting access to funding, creating new strategic plans around what they need to do as a business owner to survive in such a difficult time. And this turned into basically a full-time job. So now my friend and I, we launched an organization which is called CrimDell Small Business Network, where we work to connect the business school that I'm a part of with the greater business community. And we offer free counseling to business owners in a variety of topics. And we offer events, networking events, and resources as the best we can.
Cara, that's a great way to respond to the challenges of a current situation. And turn them into opportunities that can help you, but also help the broader community that you live in. That's really cool.
I think that's the goal. I think that's what business school, that's what I'm trying to get out of business school.
So Cara, where do you hope you'll be in maybe 10 years?
What's important to me is that I continue to make use of the multitude of experiences I've gained. And part of that is my research background. I think I've thought about ways that I could get involved with marine science from a management role, from a private sector role, or in the nonprofit realm. I'm confident that I will have at least some involvement with marine stakeholders to a degree, but I can't say exactly what that looks like.
Well, that's a pretty cool way to go about things. You're being responsive to the situations and the opportunities that you develop. Is there any advice that you would give to a new student starting at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory today?
Sure, yeah. I think that being in graduate school, no matter what type of graduate school, it's just an amazing playground. There's a safety net. You get the opportunity to do things that, when you're working in a full-time job would be a little too risky. But what I loved about being at the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory was I had two amazing advisors who, if I ever needed help, their door was open, and I could get help to pursue any different type of project. So I think I would really encourage any student to try to think about all of the different ways they can utilize what the lab has to offer, if that's talking to other professors in other labs, or just experiencing the community and offering to help out each other, because you never know where you're going to find that thing that'll change the next step of your career.
That's wonderful advice, Cara. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. It was a real pleasure getting to catch up with you.
Yes, it's great to see you again, Sarah. I can't believe it's been so long.
I know. All right, Cara, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who joined us today.